yes, I saw the movie. I saw it on Friday, and this was interesting. If you guys don't know, I'm not the greatest Mortal Kombat fighter when it comes to the video games. I actually suck at fighting games. I'm not good with the controls. I can't remember a lot of certain moves, but I have fun with it. But I am a fan of the story. I know it goes here and there. It doesn't flop. It's just a little bit all over the place, especially after I think it was 12 or 13. Either way, I'm a fan of Mortal Kombat. And when that first movie was announced and it came out, I actually really liked the first movie. I thought it was super cool. I know there were a lot of complaints. I gave the movie a 7 out of 10. I was really a fan of it. I thought it was cool. A lot of the fights that they were able to show us, especially the effects, I thought were incredibly cool. But I liked it. And I liked the character that they gave us in that first movie. I really liked, where is he? He's not even listed here, which is like, what? I like Cole Young, played by Louis Tan. I thought Cole Young was super cool. But this one, Mortal Kombat 2, I'm going to give it some grace because, once again, it's been 3 years since Mortal Kombat 1 came out, 4 or 5 years maybe. But this was really cool. And I'm going to say that it was really cool because we finally got into the tournament of Mortal Kombat. We finally got into the fights, went to different places, and it actually looked like a lot of different fighting areas that you fight with, the different arenas in the Mortal Kombat video games, which I thought was cool. You saw a lot of characters that they used in this one that you go to in different lands of the Nether Realm when it comes to it. And I just want to put it out there. I was very impressed with Shao Kahn. Very impressed. Shao Kahn looked so cool. And the guy who played him, hats off to you, because I heard that apparently they were trying to use you as a body double, Martin Ford, and then have somebody else do the voice. But apparently he was the one who did the voice for Shao Kahn, and he killed it. He was very scary, and I hated you. I wanted you to die, and spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, I'm glad that you did, because I hate you. But the fights were unbelievable. Unbelievable. There were sometimes it was getting on my nerves that at the beginning they were pausing to say a couple of one-liners that didn't really hit with me. There were people in the theater that laughed, which I thought was super cool. But I was a little bit more like, okay, that was clever. It was okay. But there were a lot of times in those early fights when they stopped so many times. And I was like, oh, you got to go. Because in the video game, it feels like you never stop pressing buttons. You never stop going after your opponent. And it's super fast, super bloody and gory and crazy, which this one was. This one was bloody and gory and crazy. But I wish, and that would probably be one of my only complaints, besides the one-liner thing, I just wish that those early on fights were just boom, 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 over and over again. But I was still very impressed. I was very impressed with the costumes. I was very impressed with the fights that happened later, especially where they went. But it was really cool. I got mad in the theater when they killed off Cole Young. Got very mad because I thought he was a dude who was really cool. I was very excited to see what he was going to do in this one, see who he gets to fight, and eventually if I feel like he probably would have died a little later, but I thought it would take a little bit of time. But he died very early on from Shao Kahn, and I was like, dang it, bro. Dang it. I thought Cole Young was cool, but... Now let's get to one of the newest characters that was introduced. One of my favorite characters in Mortal Kombat, played by Karl Urban, Johnny Cage. Obviously, Liu Kang is one of my favorite characters in the Mortal Kombat world. Same with Katana. But Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade are two of my favorite characters because of their whole thing on the side. Not just their relationship, but the fact that they are literal two opposite people, according to the games, where Sonya Blade was like a soldier, captain, general type of person. And then you have Johnny Cage, who doesn't take anything really seriously because he's an actor who's a really good trained fighter who joins the fight and is just, a comedic relief. And he's really good in the games, really good. I love those scenes when he's fighting all these different little monsters and stuff. Has the glasses, which I love that he had in this movie. If he didn't have the glasses, I would have been like, yeah, this movie's a joke. I'm playing. It still would have been pretty cool to me. But I was very iffy with Karl Urban's version of Johnny Cage. I was very iffy. One of my favorite versions, and it's probably going to be I don't know too much about the fan base on Johnny Cage, but I was a huge fan of, I think it was Mortal Kombat 11's Johnny Cage, the guy who was from Lab Rats, who played Johnny Cage. I thought he was cool, and I really would have loved if they used him a little bit instead of Karl Urban. Karl Urban did a pretty good job, but there were some points where I just didn't fully see him as Johnny Cage. if that makes sense. Once again, he sounded the part. Whenever he was speaking and whenever he was doing certain things, he sounded the part. But looking at him a couple of times, I was like, I don't know if I just don't know if he really is Johnny Cage. I wasn't really believing in it, which messed me up a couple of times. But that scene where he fights another one of my favorite characters, I believe was Baraka. Like I kept in the theater thinking over and over again. I'm like, is that Baraka or am I tripping? Because there's so many times with names I like accidentally confused one or the other. And when he finally said, "I am Baraka," I was like, okay, that is Baraka. But that whole scene was one of my favorite scenes. I thought it was super funny, especially when it was him versus Johnny Cage. That was very cool. And I was glad that he got his confidence back and beat his butt. But I guess that was another thing that kind of threw me off. Because with Johnny Cage, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought in the games he was already like an actor who failed. And I know they changed up the version that he was. He was a actor who was in those like old movies, and then now his career is kind of kaput, and he is trying to reminisce in his glory days. And for some of the movie, it took a little bit for him. That's why that Baraka fight was cool, for him to gain his confidence, which kind of took me out. That was probably another reason why I wasn't too much of a fan, because from the jump, when Johnny Cage joins this group, like, yeah, he's cocky and yeah, he's an a-hole, but he's a good fighter. And for him to lose that first fight, and I get it's to Katana and stuff, but I really wish that we could have just seen like, yo, like, he's too confident. Now he's got to eat a little bit of humble pie and just, like, you know, lose the Katana, even though he's going like, what, 70%, and then come back and go 100% and do the thing he did against Baraka. But I don't know, it was just annoying. I didn't like that Katana fight too much. I thought Katana was cool, but Johnny Cage was getting on my nerves. And that kind of took me out because I love Johnny Cage. But that Baraka fight, very cool. When he finally goes in and learns, like, I guess Axe's role, which was another thing that took me out, because they were like, yo, act, do your thing. And I was kind of like, I thought he could just fight. Like, not be an actor, not act like Johnny Cage. He is Johnny Cage. I thought he could fight, but I still thought it was cool. I still thought Baraka being in a live action was awesome. Also, the makeup, I really have to highest appreciation from me. Like, everybody looked cool. Shao Kahn, Baraka, stinking Sub-Zero and Scorpion looked super cool, and their costumes were really cool. But they did a really good job once again with the costumes, and I think it really shows, especially with the effects, really shows big time with one of my favorite fights in the movie, which was Kung Lao versus Liu Kang. Oh my gosh, where they thought it was like a bluish, like stinking, what's it called? It was very blue, a background with like whirly type. It looked like it was interdimensional in space, but it was incredible. That setting, it looked exactly like something straight out of the Mortal Kombat video game, which I loved, especially the camera angle they had. And then when they were fighting, so cool, bro. Like, I really love Kung Lao's stinking hat, the razor hat he has, that he just throws around and uses in his fights, especially when he throws it down on the ground, it turns into like stinking sawmill or something. So cool. But that whole fight right there was insane, especially Liu Kang, man. I know they're holding him back. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to make a third Mortal Kombat movie, but I really need to see what is going on with Liu Kang, because that was another thing, like, I'm a little bit iffy on, because to me, I thought they would do a little bit more of Liu Kang as the main character type of thing, but they started with Cole Young, and I didn't hate that because I thought it was a cool introduction. Then they go from Cole Young to stinking Johnny Cage, which kind of let me down, especially the way they told the story. And then now, at the end, Liu Kang disappears after he beats the crap in the worst way out of Kung Lao, and he just goes off and then doesn't return. And I'm like, what happened to him? I mean, I know in the games, like, I don't want to spoil it, but there's something that happens. But I kind of was a little bit like, well, that was weird. Kind of. Like, for him to just leave his friends behind with Shao Kahn and then, Katana stinking clutched up and, like, beat his butt. But I wish Kung Lao was still there. And he wasn't there at the end, too. I was kind of like, where you at, bro? Where you at? But I still think this movie accomplished what it needed to. The fights were better than the first one, I will admit, and it was cooler. But there were some certain pathways they went on the story that just didn't fully hit with me. So, once again, fights were insane. The gore, the carnage, everything was there. Especially that final kill that Katana did to stinking Shao Kahn. Oh my gosh, that made me wince a little bit. But it was so cool, and definitely something that would happen in Mortal Kombat. And I was impressed with that. But yeah, story, not fully there for me. But hey, that's not the point. Mortal Kombat is all about stinking fights. That is one thing that I love about it. I think it's the best fighting game, even though I suck at fighting games, but I think it's the best. Like, I think there's so many times my friends, whenever a Mortal Kombat game would come out, the number one thing they would search first is fatality compilation. And we just see all the new fatalities they have in the most creative ways, and I think that's the coolest thing. I know Injustice is another one that I love watching. They're not really fatalities, they're just like finishing moves, but that's another one I love watching sometimes. But the Mortal Kombat ones, so cool, so creative, so nasty. Something's wrong with me. I'm just playing now, but I love Mortal Kombat. And if you guys are Mortal Kombat fans, 1000% suggest you guys go see this movie, because there's a lot of fans that I know that were really praising it, really going into it like true fans, saying like this is incredible. And I think that as long as you love like this mystical type of stuff, the fighting, action adventure, like this is the movie for you, especially currently. It's still out in theaters. Definitely have time to watch it, but I think you guys would really love it. I think you would, and honestly, it probably looked really cool in IMAX too, because it was very colorful, very, it was shot very well too, which I definitely was impressed with. I didn't expect that. I know with camera angles and stuff, probably should be a number one thing, especially for a fighting movie where you want to have good angles of what they're doing and really creative angles, try to change the game up. But it was pretty impressive. But I would recommend it to you guys. Definitely go check it out if you guys have the time. And I'm going to give this a high 6 out of 10 because I still wasn't a full-on fan of it, but I thought it was still really cool. So I'm going to give it a high 6 out of 10. Still recommend it to you guys, especially if you love fighting stuff.